let's go ahead and get into another one. So I'm going to try to follow only the habits. So here I'll just play e5, even though you know I hate e5. So I'll just develop the opposite knight of whatever they develop. And I'll do the same again, right? Developing the knight to f6. Figured they'd, bring the bishop out. We'll do the same, and then we'll castle as soon as we can. So he's actually failing to fry liver us because he had to do it before we played. He has to play it right here. So obviously we know that we can just castle because the rook defends f7. And now we create left for the king with tempo on the knight. So he has to go back. And this is also not a bad, or sorry, this is a bad move. Anyway, I'm just going to continue the habits, which is like this, right? Develop a piece, we'll trade that for sure. Because once again, for the second recording game in a row ruins the pawn structure, we'll just recapture that with the queen. He takes it like this, and then so there are other moves. Like if we wanted to win quickly, there are plenty of moves that win us the game quickly. Like knight d4 is good, things like that. But I'm gonna follow the habits and first bring the rooks to the center, and then we can start looking for stuff. Let the rooks come to the center. And this is actually an interesting move. It's kind of funny because I thought maybe you'd play f4 first if you were white, but anyway. So now we're the center is being challenged. Right, we were gonna put the knight here before anyway, so let's just go ahead and capture this pawn on d4. See what they do. We're obviously like much better right now. That was a huge mistake. And now we see the move f4. So something that you should notice is that immediately basically is that the bishop now sees the king. And the only thing in the way is our knights, right? So there's a few discovered checks, is really kind of all the knight moves. So basically, it's like which ones are good. Well, the double checks is always something to look at. So if we double check, let's say here, he has two moves. Doesn't really look like there's anything great. We could pick up this rook, of course. I'm trying to think if we should do that. If I should just play something else. Also, not even a bad move is just taking the pawn here. But I think, yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and even if we don't take the rook, it's a free pawn with check. Because he obviously wants to put some pressure on us by opening files near our king. Maybe he intentionally lost the knight here on h3. So he slides the king out of the way. We could pick up this we could pick up this rook now. The problem is something that you'll notice again, and this is not really happening. This is just like looking at the stuff. Is that if he were to do something like capture on e5 after queen takes, he's we're going to be in some trouble. Now, luckily in that position, we're not actually mated if he takes with the rook because we can trade the queens on e4 and at the same time attack the bishop with the rook after he trades. But is it the best? Maybe not. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to grab the rook. And then we'll grab here, like we said. And the idea is that if he decides to take with the bishop, we're only going to be losing an exchange, and we just won an entire rook. If he takes with the rook trying to checkmate us, we can force the queens off the board like this, and then yes, he will have a discovery. So he's kind of doing the same thing. This is no longer defended by our queen. He's threatening what would be a mate in one if our queen didn't cover it, but we can force the queens off the board, which is what I'm going to do. And then by the end of this, he's actually going to have two pieces that are hanging because our rook will no longer be on e8 to get forked like this. So now the queens are coming off the board. Let's see what he does. I want to try to get to like 1,000 elo and make one so that we can get slightly stronger opponents. So he's like in denial or something. He decides to block the check with the rook, but we can win a piece here. By trading the queens and taking this, right? He will get this little fork at the end, but it's not something he's super worried about. If we check with the queen, I'll just block with the rook, maybe repeat moves or something. Not great. So I'm actually just going to trade the queens. Right, his whole thing is that he's trying to play pretty aggressive, so with the queens off the board, it's not as much. Okay. So here there's like a tactic that we could play where we do just straight up fully win the bishop. Which should be like pretty snappy, I feel like. If not, it's fine, you know, you can take your time to look. But basically, the drawback of us taking the bishop immediately is that we lose the exchange here on e8. We can actually move the rook away with check, and then after he moves his king, we're going to be able to now pick the bishop that was on h6 up without losing his range, right? So he gives us this check anyway, we move the king, and now we don't lose a rook on e8 because we gave that little intermezzo check. So he's trying to take control of some squares, right? If we're being petty, we could just trade pieces. That's always something we could do, which I might do. I consider this. That's also rook g1 check, things like that. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna bring the rook over here to f8, with the idea of just trading pieces, right? We can't get mated with only a bishop if we were able to trade the rook, so not super worried about it. So he's almost mated here. I think we can actually mate him by if the bishop could see e7, we could take this, give this. Oh, wait, he's done here. I was gonna say we could take, give this check, check, and then if the bishop could come over here, this would be a nice little checkmate. Or he has to go like this, and then this is mate. Anyway, I don't have a game review, so I can't actually check the accuracy this time. But you know,